Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Before starting the video, I request you to kindly support my channel. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Jazakallah. Let's start with the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. Rumi's poetry continues to captivate readers around the world, landing him on bestseller lists in America. Even Hollywood celebrities and renowned musicians are drawn to his words. Yet, there is something many do not realize. Rumi was far more than just a poet. Today, we will step into his mystical and spiritual world, immersing ourselves in the depth of his love. A love so pure and profound that it still resonates across centuries. To truly understand this love, however, we must uncover its secrets. What was it about Shams of Tabriz that shook Rumi to his core, transforming him from a respected scholar into a universally cherished figure? What awakened within Rumi that allowed his words to transcend time? The answer to these questions will stir your heart. But Rumi's deep admiration for Shams was not welcomed by everyone. Whispers of conspiracy surrounded Shams's sudden disappearance. Was he murdered? Or is there a deeper mystery waiting to be uncovered? Are you ready to uncover the hidden truths behind this legendary story? I have crossed the vast wilderness of time to find you. I prayed, and I asked God for guidance, and He led me to you. Nothing else matters. You are my brother in spirit, my destiny. These were the words Shams whispered to Rumi. To understand their connection, we must go back to a time before their fateful meeting. The year was 1246. Shams of Tabriz had spent years searching for someone who could match the depth of his soul. Though his search seemed endless, he pressed on, guided by a dream that led him to Anatolia. Shams was no ordinary scholar. He shunned status and recognition, wandering from place to place, worshipping in solitude. He believed that true knowledge came not from books, but through love, a love that leads directly to God. No teacher or companion had ever fulfilled his longing for deeper meaning. Now in his 50s, with streaks of white in his hair and beard, he sensed he was close. His long search was about to end. Then, in the bustling streets of Konya, he saw Rumi. The scholar was on horseback, surrounded by his students, when suddenly, Shams rushed forward. With surprising agility, he seized the reins of Rumi's horse. Startled, Rumi's students tried to intervene, but Shams held his ground. His intense gaze met Rumi's, and he asked a question, bold and perplexing. Rumi did not answer immediately. He stood in deep thought, contemplating for several minutes, while the crowd around them fell into an expectant silence. As we pause to absorb this moment, let's take a step back and explore who Rumi was before Shams entered his life. Born in 1207 in Balkh, Afghanistan, Jalaluddin Rumi was a scholar, philosopher, poet, and Sufi whose wisdom would leave an indelible mark on the world. His influence extended beyond religious and cultural divides, touching the hearts of both believers and non-believers. His father, Baha al-Din, was a highly respected scholar and the greatest teacher in Rumi's early life. At the time, Afghanistan was in turmoil, with Mongol invasions threatening the land. In 1212, the family made the decision to leave. Upon hearing of their migration, the Seljuk Sultan Alaeddin Kayqubad invited them to settle in Konya, offering Baha al-Din a madrasa where he could teach. Years passed, and after his father's passing, Rumi took his place as a scholar in Konya. He married twice, and his first wife, Gever, bore him 2 sons. But everything changed on the day he met a mysterious stranger dressed in black, Shams of Tabriz. Neither Rumi nor anyone else could have known that this encounter would alter the course of his life forever. Shams of Tabriz was in Konya. He stood before Rumi and asked his first question. Here is that question from Shams's lips. O Rumi, who is greater, our Prophet Muhammad or the Sufi master Bayezid Bastami? If you say Muhammad, then why, when he was passing away, did he say, "My Lord, I could not worship you as you deserve"? But Bayezid Bastami said, "Am I not free of all shortcomings? Am I not great now?" Rumi fell silent in the face of this question and began to think. Everyone around was all ears, waiting for the answer. In the usually noisy bazaar, there was now complete silence. It took Rumi about 5 minutes to respond. Those 5 minutes felt like 5 hours to everyone. Rumi replied with dignity and calmness. "Is there any doubt about that? Of course, Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the greatest prophet, while Bayezid is one of his followers. Our prophet is like an ocean. All the rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean neither overflows nor diminishes. Bayezid Bastami, on the other hand, is like a lake. If too much water flows into the lake, it overflows. Bayezid Bastami overflowed as much as he could and lost himself. After that, it was beyond his control." This answer had caused the river to overflow. At that moment, Shams realized that Rumi was indeed the one he had been searching for, and he was deeply satisfied with the answer. Excitedly and with love, he exclaimed, "Allah!" In that moment, Rumi also lost himself to the sound. He could no longer stay on his horse and collapsed to the ground like a lifeless body. Shams fell to his knees at Rumi's feet and whispered to the unconscious Rumi, "I have crossed the vast wilderness of time just to find you. I prayed, and I asked God to guide me, and He granted it to me. There is nothing else. You are my brother in spirit, my destiny." Their whispered conversation echoed through the entire marketplace. To the onlookers and students, there seemed to be nothing visible to understand, for these two spiritual masters had begun speaking on another plane. Shams then said, "Not here. Let's go to your home." They went together to Rumi's house. Inside, Rumi had a room full of books. Shams instructed him to throw these books into the pool. Rumi gathered the books in his arms and began tossing them into the water. One by one, they sank, until only a single book remained. Hesitating, Rumi clutched it tightly. "I can't," he admitted. "This book is a keepsake from my father, and it holds knowledge I have yet to memorize." Without hesitation, Shams took the book from Rumi's hands and threw it into the pool. After some time, Shams picked up a long stick and stirred the water. "Let me know when the book resurfaces," he said. Minutes passed before the book finally floated to the surface. When Rumi pointed it out, Shams said, "In the name of God, Bismillah," and lifted it from the water. Rumi opened the book and was stunned. Despite being submerged for so long, it was completely dry. Even dust fell from its pages, as if it had never touched the water. Astonished, Rumi turned to Shams. "This book should be soaked, ruined. How is this possible?" Shams simply replied, "This is what I'm trying to teach you. You are too attached to these books." At that moment, understanding washed over Rumi. Without hesitation, he threw the book back into the water himself. From that day forward, their search for wisdom would no longer be confined to books. It would be found within themselves and within each other. They withdrew into seclusion, locking themselves away in a small cell for 40 days, allowing no one to interrupt their spiritual retreat. Their meeting created a ripple effect that would spread far beyond Kenya. The wisdom they discovered together transcended time, borders, and traditions. Before Shams, Rumi was already a respected scholar. But it was Shams who ignited something deeper within him, transforming him into the Rumi the world knows today. Perhaps, however, Shams's greatest influence came not through his presence, but through his disappearance. His absence awakened a love so profound that it shaped Rumi's most celebrated poetry. Even those who sought to remove Shams from Rumi's life may have unknowingly played a role in his spiritual awakening. Yet, the bond between them was more than just a meeting of like minds. It defied expectations. Many believed Shams, as the teacher, would lead and guide Rumi. Instead, Rumi was the one who changed. His transformation unsettled not only his students, but also his family and the wider community. As resentment toward Shams grew, the pressure became unbearable, and he abruptly left Kanya. Rumi was devastated. He barely ate or drank, pouring his longing into poetry and letters. Unable to watch his father suffer, Rumi's son traveled to Damascus and convinced Shams to return. Shams came back to Kanya and even married Rumi's stepdaughter, Kimya Hatun, in hopes of easing tensions. But while Rumi continued to lose himself in divine love and spiritual ecstasy, the resentment toward Shams did not fade. The hostility remained, a storm waiting to break. Then, in 1247, Shams disappeared once again. This time, no one ever found him. Was there a dark assassination attempt behind this mysterious disappearance? Or was it a metaphysical vanishing? The truth behind his disappearance has been a subject of curiosity and speculation for centuries. According to the first theory, it was claimed that Shams was murdered by some of Rumi's jealous disciples, but no body was ever found. This would not have been surprising, as over time, people grew envious and came to dislike Shams. They tolerated him only because Rumi wanted him so dearly. It's possible that some from among them acted secretly to get rid of him. So what was the other theory? If it wasn't murder, then why did Shams suddenly disappear? There is a strong possibility that Shams voluntarily disappeared to test Rumi's commitment or to advance his spiritual journey. Shams might have realized that his presence had fulfilled its purpose of transforming Rumi, leading him to leave Kanya of his own accord. His departure could have been a final lesson on separation and divine love. After all, only someone who has suffered and burned with pain could transform from immaturity to mastery. Let us reflect on Rumi's profound words on the matter. I was raw, I became cooked, I was burned. Shams's mysterious disappearance was not just the loss of a man, but perhaps the transition of a soul to another dimension. This secret continues to live on in Rumi's poetry and teachings. The veil of mystery that Shams left behind is what led Rumi to transform into a universal sage. Shams had taught Rumi that knowledge alone was incomplete. The secret behind him throwing Rumi's books into the water without causing any damage was this. He wanted Rumi to focus not on the material, but on the spiritual. Shams passed on to Rumi his metaphysical abilities and divine love, taking him on a journey through the realms. Thus, Rumi was not locked in this world with Shams. He explored the realms of meaning, experiencing God much more deeply, not just learning, but feeling it deeply. This was something no one else could give Rumi, and that is why he held Shams in such high respect and lived with a deep sense of gratitude. The fact that he couldn't even find Shams's body caused him immense sorrow, and he burned with longing. The truth is, this was the fate of the path. Only by losing could one truly gain. Indeed, this longing and divine love transformed Rumi from a great scholar into a universal lover of love. It is no coincidence that Rumi's books remain on the bestseller lists in the West today. Rumi, who lived hundreds of years ago, has even fascinated Hollywood stars. However, even today, this divine love and friendship between Rumi and Shams is often misunderstood. Materialistic people, who reduce everything to sexuality and appearances, may misinterpret the relationship between two souls who found God and His love through conversation, understanding, and mysterious divine journeys, just as the fanatics who wanted to kill Shams did. They were friends. And of course, people of the same gender can fall into a great love and become close friends of God. Now, let us return to the heartbroken and deeply sorrowful lover, Sufi Rumi. Rumi was so convinced that his friend was not dead that he went to Damascus 4 times in 2 years to find him. He had opened a door with Shams's love. Until his death in 1273, Rumi continued to spin in the whirling dervish dance, like moths circling a flame, and kept writing poetry. When people, even if lying, claimed to bring news of Shams, Rumi would reward them with great gifts. One day, someone close to Rumi warned him, saying, "This person lied to you, yet you gave him your coat. Didn't you realize he was lying?" Rumi replied, "I knew it was a lie. That's why I gave him my coat. If it were true, I would have given my life." Love can only be expressed so much with words. Let us try to feel it too. Through his friend, Rumi had found God, discovered, and reached divine secrets. Was his friend killed by those closest to him? Or had he just left? Rumi poured his sorrow and pain into his love poems. Now, the whole world reads those poems endlessly. The word Masnavi, the title of Rumi's famous work, means to connect one thing to another. When Shams blended himself with Rumi, it became love. But even those closest to him could not fully grasp this love. Today, the Masnavi is translated into dozens of languages. Yet, it is still uncertain if anyone truly understands that love. Finally, let us seek the secret behind why Rumi is so deeply loved. A friend of God once described Rumi as a man who loved both God and humanity so deeply that he completely forgot himself. Rumi's words reflected this boundless love. Come, come, whoever you are. Be you an unbeliever, fire worshipper, or idol worshipper, still come. Our door is not the door of despair. Even if you have broken your vows 100 times, still come. He embraced all people without judgment, pouring love into the world. And in return, God granted him a remarkable gift. His name became known far and wide, his poetry touching hearts across the world. This is nothing short of a miracle. Throughout history, many wise and virtuous scholars emerged in the Islamic world, yet few gained recognition beyond their own lands. What made Rumi different? It was this divine gift. His words transcended time, culture, and religion, carrying a universal message of love and unity. Even after his passing, this miracle continues. Rumi did not live for himself alone, and in return, God placed his legacy within our hearts. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications to stay updated. See you in the next video. Allah bless you all.